Hi, thank you so much for tuning into the Inhospitality Podcast. I'm Ty Justice.
I'm Simba.
And this is the podcast where we discuss everything about hotels from the inside out by those who actually make it happen. So today we're going to start at the water cooler and we're going to talk a little bit about accessible rooms or disability rooms.
Yes.
So, or rooms for the disabled that by law, especially in California, you're supposed to have in your hotels a certain amount of ADA rooms or accessible rooms,
Yes.
disability rooms. So I was at a get-together yesterday with someone who I'd known at an event at the hotel a year previously. And this is the Santa Monica property. And poor thing, she actually got stuck in the elevator. And she was there for like almost 2 hours.
2 hours?
She was there with her son and her mother.
You didn't have a fire department?
They were there. Oh. They were doing it. But the thing is, elevators in general, just in case I haven't talked about that before, they have about a 20-year lifespan, I've learned. And it's about $500,000 to replace each one. So hotels, just like in the Hollywood property that we worked at, those
were over 20 years old.
those elevators are going down all the time.
Dude.
But it's a problem in a lot of hotels. And the one in Santa Monica, this poor woman was trapped in there for a long time. Finally got her out. Very sweet. She's very sweet, understanding. They weren't explosive, they weren't angry about it, but, we felt so bad. We're like, I'm so sorry you were there for so long. And because after every 10 minutes, we'd be like, they're still in there. They're still in there. Oh my God, they're still in there. And finally, she got out. But her wife is disabled, her mother is disabled, so they needed ADA rooms. So they were able to get something functional. But it led into the conversation yesterday about how hotels, when they're doing renovations now, because I've had other guests that have called a lot of other hotels in Santa Monica checking up on ADA rooms and what kind of disabled rooms they have. And more, because right now a lot of hotels in Santa Monica are doing a lot of renovations. And the hotel I was at in Santa Monica had just gone through one the year previously. And a lot of companies now are skimping out on the roll-in showers and putting tubs in, which is kind of a no-no. I mean, it's probably not illegal, but it's just something that a lot of people that have disabilities are like, just...
It defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
Like, we're talking about, a regular tub.
Yeah. Well, it's an ADA tub, but you still have to step in. And for some people that are disabled, it's still difficult because a woman called me and dealt with me directly. Very sweet. We talked off and on the weeks before she was about to arrive with her mother, who was like almost 90 years old. And, they're like, nobody really has roll-in showers anymore, or nobody has like true disabled accessible rooms, disability accessible rooms. And I think a lot of that is because of renovations that are always happening now. What is happening is that they are making them a little less accessible and a little more common, so they'll be easier to sell to people that don't have disabilities. There have been a few times where I've checked in a person to an ADA room because that's all that's left, or they accidentally booked it online, and they'll get offended. Like, do I look disabled to you? And it's like, it's not about that.
That's the only room that has a tub.
Right. I know you wanted a tub. Just because it has a railing. Because it has a railing, you're going to get all mad.
For the hotel, the Hollywood one, if I ever put someone at ADA and they're like, I don't need this room, I need a normal room, fine. Back to the normal room. Guess what? They definitely regret it. They regret giving that room up because the ADA bathrooms, so much better.
They're bigger.
They're so much better.
ADA bathrooms are usually bigger. At least classically, they are bigger.
Classically, like from what I have seen, like the Hollywood, the ADA rooms there were very popular. If someone ever, I'm on a honeymoon, I want a tub, boom.
There you go.
You got extra space,
Yeah, and it's true. And around the bed, you have to have extra space because if you're wheeling, or if you're coming around in a wheelchair, you have to have that space to move around in. So there's certain things. But I've noticed that a lot of hotels now, from what guests have told me at the front desk, and as they're searching and calling, because I've actually had to tell people, like, look, would love for you to stay here, but I understand because I grew up with disabled people in my family that if you guys stay here, it's going to be very frustrating because we have one room or two rooms with a tub or with a shower that you need, and the rest of them don't have it because our recent renovation, cleared out a lot of the diversity when it comes to our ADA rooms. So, look, I'd love for you to stay, and I hate to lose your business, but I'd rather you be, safe and your relatives be safe while they're here so you don't have to worry about them or so they have an easier time. And that just makes it easier for the staff as well, to be honest. But yeah, there's a lot of, I think, in style and design now. ADA rooms are becoming more subtle, which is unfortunate because that means that, they're going to look a little more normal, but they're going to be a little less functional for people that need them to be accessible for disabled people.
These guys.
I know.
They're just like Stephen Hawking's. No.
I know. Can't stay here
You
in a
can't
wheelchair.
stay.
No. Good luck. And it's funny because hotels, in general, when they do renovations, they will uncover and this is a little bit of water cooler talk too, they will expose the mistakes of previous renovations. So in Santa Monica, what they did, and this is what made the renovation last so long. The renovation was always only supposed to be like maybe 6 months at the most.
Yeah.
It lasted like 9 or 10 months because like they kept finding mistakes, and the crew that was hired, that was contracted and then subcontracted to do the work, had to kind of find ways around it because they had multiple ceilings. So in the hallway, when you'd rip out a ceiling, you'd find another ceiling. So instead of tearing that down, the people would just like paper over it or like, like ceiling, put a little ceiling under it. But the problem with that is that we learned is that in a hotel, if you're going to own a hotel or renovate a hotel, understand that this might be an issue from previous renovations that are like 20 years old, 10 years old. On average, hotels go about every 7 years and then do a renovation, whether they need one or not, just to update style and to keep up with trends. But if you have multiple ceilings on a floor, the problem with that is if there is a fire, there is no way to access certain levels of that ceiling. So you would have to cut slots in there and slices so you could actually have access to get water in there or anything. But it's a fire hazard. So there's been a fire hazard there for years that nobody knew about. But the previous owners are just like, whatever.
Yeah, patch it up.
Patch it up. And so they would have to cut huge slots into these ceilings and do all that. And the city of Santa Monica would refuse to clear certain floors until they did things properly because, the hotel ownership's just like, let's see if we can get away with this.
So the city made them.
Oh, yeah, multiple times. And after a while, the city stopped coming by. And they're like, look, you guys keep messing with us with these shoddy renovations you're doing and not, making sure it's up to code. We're not going to come out until, you learned your lesson a little bit.
Yeah.
So it took forever. But yeah, a lot of renovations now, people have to be careful if they have disabled family or if they're disabled themselves and they're traveling. They have to be very specific. I recommend calling the front desk and definitely asking. And here's the thing. Your front desk isn't always going to know. And look, if you're ever calling a hotel wondering if or looking for certain details about a hotel, never call Central Reservations. Make sure you're not talking to Central of any franchise.
Always be like, are you literally at the front desk right now?
Exactly.
Are you on the property right now?
And a key element to keep in mind is the people that know the rooms the best are housekeepers.
Yeah.
So even better than the engineers. So I'll ask an engineer a question, and they'll be like, ask housekeeping. Because housekeeping are in those rooms multiple times a day. They're cleaning it. They're scrubbing every aspect of it. They'll know more square footage details. They'll know more about what types of rooms, tubs, not tubs, showers, not showers, size of living room, because certain rooms are just shaped differently even though they're the same type.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but your housekeeper will always know. So call the front desk. Ask them to speak to housekeeping if they don't know offhand. Because sometimes if an agent's like, let me check for you, make sure they're checking with housekeeping. Because housekeeping are the department that's going to know the rooms better than any other department.
See, at the Hollywood location, we actually had the codes on the rooms until a couple of the rooms. So I think that I would always double check with housekeeping because the front offices had like different settings than what the back office did. Yeah. And some of them would say like can do roll in, can't do roll in,
which was nice.
Tub, no tub, things like that. But I think there was a couple like it said it had a tub and actually didn't.
It didn't, yeah.
Or like it said it could fit a roll in, it actually couldn't.
Right.
So it's like, well, I already have the guest in there. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Well, that's the thing too. There's certain things that are illegal. Like you can't most people don't realize this, but if you have a room with 2 beds in it, legally in California, you cannot put a rollaway bed in a room that already has 2 beds in it. That's a fire hazard. Like you won't be able to escape. So always make sure you ask beforehand because you're going to be frustrated if you've got like 5 people, 2 teenagers, 2 adults, and maybe the grandma or the babysitter coming by and you're like, yeah, I got a room with 2 beds. That should be enough. It's never going to be enough. No. And you're going to have people sleeping on the floor and it's going to be very uncomfortable. So just always keep that in mind because people always, look, everybody tries to save money. We get it. It's completely understandable. You try to save money when you go to hotels and, you want to get the cheapest room you can. But, that's it's going to cost you in the long run because either you're going to have to get an extra room or upgrade to a larger room, and it's going to be a
More
pain.
money out of your pocket.
That's true. Exactly. It's going to cost you longer, and it's going to be very frustrating.
Yeah.
So it's always good to call and kind of barter with the front desk. Like,
Yeah.
go to the front desk. Like, it's always, with our experience, upsells are always easier at the front desk and cheaper. It's going to cost you less just to get it from the front desk anyway. But if that's not your thing and you want to save money all the way around.
We have no taxes.
Exactly. Just always make sure you know what's legally allowed in your state when you're traveling to a certain state and what isn't, because that'll just help you all the way around. I think, talking about upsells, speaking about that again, I think we are two of the most well-versed in upsells. And I think we were talking about this before and earlier. When people want to upgrade at the front desk, it's always a good idea because it's going to cost them less than if they had to get it online usually. Because usually the front desk tries to work in round numbers. It's just easier for us in general. Like, how much is it going to cost per night? If you know your property well enough, you're like $100.
Yeah.
$100 a night.
Yeah.
And $50 a night or something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely, like, if it was a busy weekend, I would go and double check the rates and be like, tonight it's a bigger night. I'm supposed to sell it to you for like $250, but I can do $150 for you.
Yeah.
Like, I would cut them a deal depending on how much money they were spending. If it was like a small upgrade, like, it cost you $50, I'd be like $30.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you just want to make the sale.
Yeah.
And, you can always upgrade them for free if, like, something goes wrong. But, like, in general, the management likes to make sure, and the general manager and then the ownership likes to make sure you're, charging them. And it's like, look, the front desk is always going to give you a better deal. Like, how much is it online? Like, like $100 more. It's $75.
Yeah.
Because you want them to take the sale anyway, and it's like
you want them to show that you're working with them. You're giving them a deal because they're more personal
And usually you'll always get that at the front. The funny thing about that, though, is that, we're always encouraged as front desk agents to really upsell and really go for it. And there are programs like Nor One that encourage that and keep track of your upsells. I have my issues with Nor One, though, only because it promotes a lot of like blind allegiance to just upselling and things like that, and you start to get addicted to it, especially the way it's set up, and you see like this little trophy if you're the most upsells, and that just messes with your brain chemistry, and then you start just like becoming just like this soldier and selling all this stuff without realizing that companies do that, hotels do that. Especially the higher end hotels, a lot of times they will do that. And this isn't all of them, but in general, the ones that I've worked at that have really promoted upselling and like Nor One upselling is that they're trying to make you a salesperson without the salesperson's commission. Because you're doing what they can't do. You're doing what the sales team can't do. And you know this. They're trying to get you to sell these rooms for a higher price instead of having to give it away.
and then take all the money from you.
And then not giving you sales commissions, because these salespeople will sell the cheapest room they have by 3 times. So everybody gets, they oversell the cheapest room because it's the easiest thing to sell. And then, the front desk has to deal with, and this front desk management has to deal with upgrading everyone complimentary.
Yeah.
And they always tell you, they're like, hey, upsell these people if you can. They only tell the agents they know they can do it.
They're like,
so.
we make it so easy for you. I don't understand how you guys just don't sell it. I'm like,
not everybody wants to buy it,
Not everybody is coming to like, I have 45 people that I'm sitting here trying to upsell.
Yeah.
I guarantee you maybe half will bite.
Yeah, maybe. And that's a good night.
But it also sucks because then if those people come in and we're at like a certain rate and they're like, oh, or if we have walk-ins come in, someone who comes in who's willing to pay like the actual price for one of these rooms, we can't even sell it because we have 45 like overbooked rooms in lower categories. Yeah, it makes it trash.
I know, it makes it tough, but it's always an interesting psychological trick when they really try to push that on you, like and then they would try to, by Santa Monica property, the new GM would try to be like, oh, look at your numbers, are you gonna let him beat you? And I'm like, dude, look, I just got $1,000 commission for 2 rooms. I'm good with what I do.
I was like, I'm not worried about the next guy. If he wants to make money,
let him. Yeah, it's like they want to pitch you against each other when it comes to that sometimes, and I didn't like that, and I resisted upselling because of that at that property, because I'm like, dude, you're supposed to get us to work together and help one another, and you're trying to like make us kind of like enemies. And I'm like, I didn't like that. It rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Just because you want to like us to sell more, fine, but there are better ways to do it, and it's a sign of poor leadership.
I was like, one time actually had a guest come up to me and he's like, hey, I need to buy 4 rooms for me and my friends, and it's gonna be probably for 5 days. Jeez. I was like, what? Like, okay.
Yes, sir.
And he's like, can it be in the cabanas? I'm like, so it was me and
The Hollywood property. Yep.
Yes, it was me and like another coworker, and he was like, oh damn, like basically I was like cashing in, right?
Yeah.
4 rooms, 5 days in the cabanas, like four separate. Those are like, I'm getting the mad commission off of that.
Because the best way to do it is to get them in as walk-ins under the cheapest rate, of course, the best available rate, and then upsell them again to the cabanas if that's what they want.
Well, if I'm booking them at Daily Bar for the cabana rooms, they're still, I'm already still getting the top rate, you know?
Exactly.
But I did let my coworker, I was like, you make 2 of the reservations, I'll make the other 2.
See, that was cool. Well, the thing is, that's the thing too. It's like, if they don't want to pay the full rate for it, that's a trick. If you want to get them and entice them to go like get the cabana rooms.
Yeah.
And let's say they don't want to pay cabana prices. All right. And this is for any upper level room. What you can always do is just get them on the Daily Bar in the cheapest room you have available, and then just upsell them, which would save them a little bit of money into the more prestigious rooms.
I always did like 2 categories under.
Yeah.
So like if they were looking for this room, I would go, and as long as like it was available in the system,
Right.
I would click that one, book it under that price, and then complimentary upgrade them.
You can do that too.
That's how I would do it, but
because at the end of the day, what do you want to do? You want to sell the room. You want to sell these people off the street because they're going to be buying directly from the hotel, and they're not going to go through a third party site. And that's the other thing. It's like sometimes you have to do that. And so it reminds me of that at it pissed them off too when I did this. But I got 8, 6, and 7. I got 7 walk-ins in one night.
damn.
They came off the street like, my people are coming in. We used to stay here years ago, and blah blah blah. And it was they stayed for like 3 or 4 nights. But I got them in at. He showed me a live price because hotels do price match third parties, like the big third parties. Just kind of plug in whatever name you want. And as long as it's a legit large one and it's a live price, like, you're encouraged to match the price, because the hotel's going to make more money even if it's a slightly cheaper price.
Yeah.
Because you're booking directly, and then the third party booking sites usually take from 10 to 30% commission.
Yeah.
So you're saving them a lot of money. But they were ticked off that I made all that money, because it was like it was 7. One was just a random one earlier, and then 6 of them were all together, and I'm just like, heck yeah. And I think that was the most walk-ins anybody had ever gotten at one time.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, it's always when you get those big sales. Like, that's why you get someone on your side. It's kind of like, oh,
exactly.
You're going to be mad at both of us right now?
Exactly.
Like,
I was the only one at the desk, too. So I couldn't split it up. So I was like a half hour.
No, but even if, like, to me, I'm just like, if that person comes to you, that's it. You're entitled to it.
Yep.
Like, you handled the business.
But it was nice that you did that, though.
Yeah, no.
It was kind.
It was like more of a thing, like, it was just me and him. Like, we had to get booked in these rooms anyway.
Right.
And then he was like, and I was like, book 2 of them. I'll book. I was like, I'm booking the pool side. You book the balconies. Those ones are mine, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was very kind. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah. No, he was really like, really, like, thank you. And I was like, bro, what am I gonna do? Sit here and like, I was like, take it, bro. I was like, that way.
See, people that do that. I had a manager at my Santa Monica property. He was really cool. He would always give me, like, even if he did walk-ins, he was a manager. He's like, take it.
Yeah.
He would just give them to me. I'm just like, oh my God, thank you. You didn't have to do that. And there was another manager there, who, the toxic one, she would take upsells and do all that. And managers aren't. It's not wrong for managers to do upsells and all that, but it's usually frowned upon because your subordinates are usually making less, and that's their commission. But she would she would eat into the commission every once in a while. She wouldn't have that generous spirit.
I hate that. And I hate it especially if it's going to be a good sale and they're like, I'll take it over.
Yeah. Oh no. I'll be like, no, you don't.
I was like, my name is on it, just to make that clear.
I know.
Like, right.
You're doing it on my code. I'm telling you.
I've seen one of the managers actually cancel one of my reservations and make it under her name.
Yeah, that would make me angry. Yeah.
I printed it out. I printed the screenshot, stapled it together, and turned it in with my commissions, and was like, this was my sale first.
That happened to me at the Hollywood property. That happened to a few of us.
Yeah.
Because I remember that people would randomly just cancel yours and make their own.
I was like, first, I don't think front desk agents did that to each other unless you did have that happen to you. I felt like we were pretty honored together.
That was, if it did happen, it was accidental. Because sometimes what you have to do with third parties is you have to put the additional charge in after. Because if you try to do it before you check them in with their card, it'll cancel.
That's why we would
for
put the notes at the bottom, though.
Yeah, exactly.
We were pretty good about that.
But sometimes you'd forget, and you're like, oh, let me put it back on. But you forget when you put it on your code, it counts under your upsell.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But some things had to be fixed, but it was accidental. Nobody did that on purpose.
Right. Management, though, was.
Management, on the other hand,
I was like, you're shady.
I know, you're shady MFers.
You're shady.
But yeah, it was interesting how companies work that way. But the Santa Monica property, I will say, did have great commission scheduling, which is nice.
Oh, good.
So that was good. Yeah, because like I'm telling you, from my first property, the commissions were just 10% upsells only. You didn't get walk-ins, you didn't get jack. So my rising up the ranks in terms of upsells there was pretty impressive to them because they hadn't seen that before, and I was hustling.
Because I was going to say, upselling is definitely. Yeah, you're really good at it. I would say most of my money was off of walk-ins because I felt like upselling was little money.
And the thing is, it builds up, though. See, that's the great thing.
It does. I mean, it's not that I would deny it or anything like that. I'd try to get good ones.
Yeah.
But a lot of, like, half of my commission came in from the walk-ins, for sure. The good money came in from the walk-ins.
People come in off the street and look for rooms.
Yeah.
Like,
or some of them even, like, they would be like, oh, hey, can you get me that rate again? I'd be like, you came to the right person.
Hey, hotel's making money, okay? Like, hotel's making money. It's not like
you're getting more money than you were at. Okay.
And that's another thing, too. I want to talk about, like, third parties. I always wanted to discuss this because when you're behind the desk, third parties are kind of the enemy. The company, they're not the enemy, but, they're kind of frowned upon because, if you can match their rate, that's great. But the thing is, at the same time, can you imagine how much hotels would cost if it wasn't for third parties keeping them humble, like to keep those rates competitive? So I can kind of see both sides. As a hotel, as a business, you're like, you hate that because they're kind of like gangster when it comes to it. Because if you don't go through them, they won't advertise you on their sites, and then it's gonna be hard for people to find you.
I was like, I would. There's only like 3 parties that I was like willing to like. They're okay. They're fine. There's like other ones though, and I was like, no, we need to get rid of these.
What do you mean 3 cents for a room? What's wrong with you people? We can't charge that. Yeah, there are some that are more legitimate than others, but at the same time, I like even the more cut rate ones because it does keep the market more fair because hotel rooms are expensive, and then a lot of the hidden fees and the taxes we've talked about before are just kind of. They're hellacious, and people come here from other countries, and they're just like, what are these extra fees, amenity fees, destination fees?
Welcome to the tea party.
Resort fees. I know exactly, right? We're going to throw some tea in the harbor next.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that, and, it's unfortunate, but people feel bamboozled a lot of times when they come to California staying in a hotel, and we understand why. Then you get the parking.
And I'm the face of it.
Exactly. Don't punch my face, but, and there's a
good thing these glasses are here.
Right, I know. Oh, God, you can dodge and bob and weave.
They start yelling.
Oh, when we had the COVID wall?
Yeah, we had the
COVID wall up. Oh,
we had like a little door that we could pass like things through, and I would just...
Oh,
it's
my
my
God.
break time.
Right, I am clocking out now.
Yeah.
But no, it's luckily we didn't have to use that too often. But yeah, every once in a while that was nice, especially when people start sneezing. You're just like, there you go.
It was nice when you were trying to sign off.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm closed, like a bank.
Down there.
Closed. But yeah.
I started knocking on it.
Just can't hear you. I'm clocked out. My ears don't work anymore.
It's a dog.
Sounds like it. No, but yeah, with a lot of that, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this episode feels a lot like there's a lot of tea to spill. Because I wanted to talk a little bit we talk about communication a lot and through different departments. Yes. And the one thing, I remember having a really serious, and here's the thing about being proactive. I mean, especially in hotels and in this day and age, you always have to be careful when it comes to threats and active shooter threats, because at the Hollywood property we worked at, there was a slip up in security, and it was a slip up, but it was a conscious decision somebody made to warn everybody else.
Yeah.
So, upsells and everything are one aspect of it, but people forget that there's an open danger of just people walking in off the street and doing something crazy, especially in Hollywood, off of the main street, Sunset, Hollywood, Melrose.
Hollywood is crazy.
There's a lot of homeless. There's a lot of homeless nearby, and I always tell travelers, there's a lot of homeless. Most are benign, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of that are mentally ill, that have a lot of mental problems, that walk in off the street.
Yeah.
So once there was one of the members of the security team. Well, let me start at the beginning. Show up to work for my shift, and the PM crew is getting ready. We're getting ready to do our thing, and there's this note taped to the back office door, and then it was a picture of a handwritten note somebody left in the restaurant in the hotel, and it said on it, "Today was a test. Tomorrow won't be." And that was found at the back of the restaurant after somebody was finished eating, and somebody in security take a picture. Somebody turned it into security. They take a picture of it, and somebody randomly taped that saying, "Be on the lookout." And I saw that, and I'm just like, that's kind of serious, because at the time we were having, in America, there are always a lot of active shooter situations, which is unfortunate. A lot of people are killed, and it's a uniquely American problem. But at that time, it was happening like every other week there was a shooting, and we had just had active shooter training by the LAPD. So our whole hotel, our entire hotel was brought in. We were brought in batches of like 100 people at a time. And LAPD would be there doing, active shooter training with us, telling us how to survive. And the one thing that stuck out to me, I think to everybody else there as well, is they said, if there is an active shooter in your hotel, people are going to die, basically. And they said the highest statistics of survival, the highest rate of survival is when employees group together and tackle the person and stop them. Because otherwise, we're not going to get there in time as police. We're not going to get there in time. We're not going to get inside in time. There's too many tactical things that have to be taken care of. And for your best chance to survive is to grab things off the wall. And they were pointing like, what things in this room can you do to protect yourself? What can you rip off the walls? Bear? Exactly, the teddy bear. I know. What can you rip off the walls? The sconces. And we pointed all these different things like sconces, chairs. They talked about barricading ourselves into rooms to keep ourselves safe. And, so we were all on very high alert, understandably. So a week later, or a couple of weeks later, when this note was taped to the door, we were just like, and me and another PM agent, we saw it, and I go, hey, I think I was the first one to intercept it. I go, did you see this? And he's like, no. Made a bunch of copies of it. We sent it out to different departments. We're like, we need to tell everybody, because nobody knew. Nobody was briefed. Nobody was told anything. And everybody was just acting nonchalantly, like, whatever. And, because security didn't inform anyone. Yeah. So we took it upon ourselves to inform different departments. And there's one in the Hollywood property, there's a restaurant that faces the street. And anybody can just walk in on the street, shoot the place up. And there was one guy coming down from the restaurant who worked in that particular restaurant. He's like, I got to go pee. I'm like, oh, good. Did you see this? He's like, no. And he read it. I'm like, and I explained to him what it was. And he goes, oh my God. He turned around, went right back to his people to warn them. And he was very grateful that I told him. And it didn't create like mass panic, but everybody was on high alert. Yeah. And the head of security, who had just newly been promoted, there was a lot of hubris and a lot of arrogance with him. And he got ticked off that we were telling people. And I'm like, well, member of your security team is the one that put this up there. We're just warning the people because you guys aren't. And he's like, do you think it's your job? Is this your job to do it? I go, well, when you're not doing your job, I'm going to do it for you. And he got pissed. He's like, well, I got something for you, and just.
What is it? A knuckle sandwich?
I know. Come on, dude. Like, try to hit me. I can use the lawsuit, For real. And it's like, dude, stop being such a dick. But, he was very much an arrogant individual. And, at first, when I first started there, I thought he was cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he really let it go to his head, and it was really unfortunate. But after that, I went to HR. I'm like, he threatened me. This dude threatened me because I was just warning people that there could be an active shooter situation.
And they were like, you said that you're an active shooter.
I know, exactly. I know, like cops. But no, but they just kind of like said, no, it's inappropriate, because I emailed HR, I emailed the GM, because I'm just like, look, this needs to be on record somehow. Yeah. And of course he tried to make some pseudo apology and like, oh, I'm sorry you felt that way. I'm like, look, it's not about how I feel. I go, look, you're fake cop playing cop. I go, I come from law enforcement. My grandfather was a deputy sheriff for 30 years, did private detective work for John Wayne, taught forensic science. He did all these things for real. I go, you're just playing cop. You're pretending. You're security at a hotel. And then you're trying to, play this game. I go, I don't accept whatever this pseudo apology is. I go, you're wrong. I go, I did what I thought was right, and I stick by it. So they try to weasel their way out of that. But come to find out later on that, they said they talked to LAPD, and LAPD's like, yeah, well, it's probably not real, blah, blah, blah. But how do you know that? Like, how do you know one lunatic's not going to just come up off the street? And security in that hotel wasn't in that. They never really policed that area too often compared to the other areas in the hotel that were a little more dangerous and active. So, I was trying to warn people to keep them safe, and that was like a whole thing, and I don't regret doing that. I don't regret doing that because, there should have been some information spread to where people be okay.
Thought that. Yeah, they would have at least alerted the departments or the managers of the departments.
Department heads, yeah.
Yeah, to have like, hey, spread it down, keep on high alert. There was a suspicious note left.
Yeah. It's important to keep your eyes open because even because it's changing times. I mean, you remember going through school and you were having a lot of these conversations with
Yeah,
instructors.
yeah. I remember that during school, like I was like ninth or 10th grade, that my teachers were forced to do the active shooter training. Like they were forced, and basically when they go through the training, they are taught that you have to basically try to tackle the shooter, otherwise worse is going to happen.
Yeah.
And they prepare them on how to barricade and how to maneuver around like different types of guns, shooters. I mean, there's different types of guns for sure. So
Right.
they're like, oh, if they have this one, you know, they only got this many shots until you can bump in, or the, you know, shotguns,
Yeah.
you got like 2 shots, right? And then they have to reload, but the other ones, it's more of a, you better maneuver quick.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the world we live in. You
Yeah.
know? So and that's where ego. Sometimes we talk about that in hotels, and a lot of times it's, you know, if it's a classic prestigious hotel, again, people take the job a little bit too seriously, or not too seriously, but they let it go to their head instead of doing their
Yeah.
job properly. It just becomes an ego trip, and you know, there's a lack of communication again. There's a lack of
Yeah.
communication within departments, or you know, well, like we don't need to tell you because we've got this. Like dude, that doesn't help if somebody gets shot, you know, and somebody gets hurt. You know, and it's better just to be prepared and than not be prepared. But that property particularly had a lot of problems with ego. But again, stems from the top.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but you know, it's just always good to be alert no matter what and keep your team safe, which has always been my bottom line. Like, just keep the team safe. That's it. You know, there doesn't have to be a lot of praise or anything. Like,
Yeah.
just keep everybody safe, communicate, have an open line of communication. That's it.
Yeah, definitely, because yeah, definitely crazy world we live in. It's crazy that we even have to go through trainings like that.
Yeah, no, that's true. And, you know, it's just a sad reality of life in
Yeah.
hotels. And because, like I said, hotels are such open targets.
Yeah.
You know, and they're open targets, and they're just, you know, open to the public. Anybody can just walk in off the street, and if you live in an area or work in an area.
Everybody comes in with duffel bags.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the Vegas guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and
He
that
literally,
was-
nobody batted an eye at him.
Exactly. And it's hard. That's why you just, you know, you always have to be aware.
I always get aware, like when the irate guests come in, I'm like,
Right.
what you got on you?
And that's an interesting rule of thumb to close on,
You
too.
were on the plane? All right, we're good.
Right, exactly. And I think that's a good, interesting point of fact as well, and why in hospitality you try to be, because you get angry guests, but now you have angry guests that can take out a gun, you know,
Yeah.
and so it's always imperative that, you know, above all, be kind, you know, because you
Yes.
never know, even if people are having a bad time, you know, because we always joke about, like, you know, giving them bad rooms and, you know, people being jerks, and, you know, there's a clever way of handling it, you know, than just like slapping somebody in the face verbally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's especially, you know, with that kind of those kinds of possibilities, it's always good to be kind of like on the side of, you know, on the side of being kind if possible and listening.
That's why I had to stop doing edibles at work.
Yeah, I can imagine that probably,
Too paranoid.
but that chills you out though. I mean, that doesn't mean you're gonna snap at people though. You know,
No. Yeah, it chills you out, but it puts your paranoia
at a high level.
So like everyone who starts acting fishy, you're like, what's wrong with them? Somebody else take care of them.
So we talk about that as well, like substance abuse at work or substances at work to kind of help you deal with work. You know, what are some of we talked about this off air a little bit ago, not taking things home. I think this is good advice, like just to kind of like wrap up on a more positive, because, you know,
Yeah.
you have active shooter stuff, you've got sales frustrations, HR stuff, you know, so in terms of all that weighing on your shoulder at the end of the day, what is your personal advice when it comes to, you know, being able to let that go?
Yeah.
Not take it with you.
Not take it with you is one of the big things, because I find it very easy not to take, when my situations that happen with guests, I feel like that's way easier not to take home. Like, it's a said and done. I'm never going to come home and be like, this guest has me so irate, or this guest made me want to cry today. Because trust, I've seen like servers cry from guests before. And I'm like, that's mad. Like, I get it, because like sometimes they're rude. They're so rude, and maybe you're having a bad day. It's just the last straw in the back.
Yeah.
But I never try to let a guest change my mood. I've definitely getting like frustrated, like, why are they acting so weird with me?
Yeah,
Like,
what-
what is this? Why?
What's the
but
problem?
after like they leave out of my sight, I'm like, anyway, what are you guys doing? Like,
Right.
just like drop it. Like, there's no point, and you're never gonna see them again.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
not
true.
saying like these coworkers don't piss me off and make me come racing home, but
Well, managers too. How do you extend that to management that really just continues to grind your gears? I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, for that one, it's just like sometimes you just got to tell yourself, like, happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Like this, it's just another day in the park. You're here to make your money. You know, just do your job. You know, barely do a little above and beyond, but don't go too crazy, because then that's when they take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta let managers just be themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
Just learn from it. I mean, you can't change them.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just stuck there. Either keep pushing or find a different job.
I know, and that's an interesting point too, because I've had people say something interesting to me, because they always say, well, then just find something else and find something else. And the response I get from people on our end, I've had people say this to me. They go like, well, what else am I going to do? That's the thing. And it's kind of sad when you think about it. Not like they don't have any skills, but, you know, when you're used to front-facing jobs, especially in hospitality that are so specific, and it's a specific skill set. You know, sometimes you don't leave because you just kind of ask yourself, like, well, what else am I going to do? If you're not creatively inclined, like if you're not an actor or a writer or a singer or anything like that, where you have your dreams, you know, people that are doing it for a job.
Well, there's a new hotel down the street.
Right.
Okay, there we go. Like,
but I mean, I'm talking about people that want to leave the industry. Like, just like there was an article a couple episodes back I referenced that people are leaving in droves permanently. And they ask themselves a question like, what am I trained for beyond hotels? You know, because, you know, it's so specific.
Yeah, I would say you definitely would have the hospitality skill set. Like, so if you would have to find almost a different hospitality job.
Yeah. I would say sales. Sales would be good if you know how to talk to people.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Still, like, a little hospitality plays into that. Yeah. Something like working with people, talking on the phone. I definitely think otherwise you're going to have to start like entry level again.
Yeah, because I think in hospitality it teaches you basic skill sets that people don't know anymore. People like don't have that personality, because you do have a certain personality, or you have to have a certain personality to make it in hotels.
Yes.
Like, to make it in hospitality is to be a good bellman, to be a good front desk agent, to be, you know, anything front facing, to work in any of the restaurants. You have to be charming, and not everybody has that even in hospitality. So you'll come across people that have no personality, people that don't know how to engage. So it teaches you, if you have that kind of extrovert gene, like if you have a little bit of an extrovert in you, it really kind of pulls that out of you. If you're introverted, I think you know how to you learn how to at least fake it. It gives you that ability, because there are a few friends of ours, I think, that are admittedly introverts that have learned to kind of come out of their shell a little bit, because that means better tips, that means better customer service. You know, it really is like, either in this industry you kind of do or die.
Definitely. I think that those people are the funniest ones to watch.
Right. Oh yeah, at first, like introverts, it's like
hey, to answer your question, it was
I know. I
mean, I'm over here like, speed it up.
I know. Well, we've been in it though, but we've been in it for a few years, so you know that's it's different for us. But no, when somebody's starting out, and it's so much better to be on this end of it, to be like, look, dude, don't worry about it. It's okay. It happens to all of us. We all start that way, stumbling and giving misinformation because we're not sure of everything that's going on. But yeah, it's interesting to watch them begin. You're
Here
like,
comes Captain Save-A-Ho. What
Captain
she meant to say was.
Right, I know. Or when somebody does something inappropriate. I remember one of our colleagues at the front desk at the Hollywood property, something happened in the system, and stuff would constantly happen in the system. But she was in front of the guest, and she just went, oh, and then the old man just started looking at her. I'm just like, I remember just doing like a slow burn. I just kind of like, what did you just say in front of me? Because sometimes you'll say shit under your breath.
One time I accidentally, so this guy basically comes at the like end of his day, and he's like, I want to show you what I found in my room. It's very disgusting.
Oh no.
And I was like,
was it you? Were you looking in a mirror?
Sir, that's just the mirror. Chillax. It was a condom. Oh. So he was like, oh, let me show it to you. And he was like, I was like, oh shit, I wish I would have known earlier. I would have had someone, I would have moved your rooms, right? Like, played the whole part. And then I was like, let me go ahead. I'm going to take care. Like, he had like a $100 supper on there or something like that. I was like, let me take care of that for you, because I can't adjust your room rate. You know, it already went through.
Right.
And so I did the adjustments, but you know how you have to like write a comment so sales can see it? Like, I was like, found condom in room, and for some reason didn't put it together like it's gonna come out on the receipt, right? So I was like, comp due to condom, and so I had printed it to show him, but for some reason I was thinking like, it was only in the system that it wasn't going to come out right there.
Comes
so
out on the folio, the receipt you print out for them to show them that you actually did it.
So I like put it together and I'm like, here you are, here's your receipts. And he's like, that's funny, I've never seen that before. And I was like,
uh-oh.
Seen what? And he goes, oh, that you actually put like it was because of a condom. I was like, oh my god, that was not your copy.
Sorry about that.
Well, that's the reason. Like, and he's like, you're not wrong. And I was like, they want to know, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, embarrassing things on the receipt. That's where you got to be careful what you put. Like, you want to be
didn't mean to order XXX movies.
Oh my god. So that happens too. Like like Saudi families will be staying, or people from very religious countries, and like, yeah, my uncle had this charge for a movie, and usually it doesn't say porn, but it'll say, like, a movie,
late night sci-fi,
$39.99, and they're like, he didn't order this, and we're like, sir, he kind of did. Yeah, but no, he didn't say he watched any movies. We asked him, he said no. I'm like, I bet he did say no.
Imagine.
Right. The guy's just sweating behind them. Don't help me.
He's like this. He waves 100.
Well, look at that. Just gone. You're right. It was a mistake. But $100 goes a long way at the front desk. But yeah, at the first property, it would just say movie. At the first property I was at, the French property, it would just say, a movie. But you could dig into the system and find out what it really was. So there were a few situations like that where,
Stepmother.
I don't remember that title. That was weird. Definitely wasn't nominated for an Oscar. But yeah.
Is it Cinderella Stepmother?
Right, I know. Something like that. No, but it's interesting. So I think one thing to wrap up on is just to talk about the fact that discretion is always the greater part of valor. Discretion is the greater portion of valor, because sometimes there are a lot of things you got to kind of be careful with and ignore and let slide and understand, because people make mistakes, guests get embarrassed. It happens like that. I think doing what we do or what we've done over the years, you learn that after you've learned the ropes, being discreet and understanding, it makes people really appreciate you more and what you're doing. So that's kind of a big part of hospitality too, is kind of ignoring really embarrassing situations or being able to calm them down. And people are usually very grateful when you can kind of clean up certain messes.
Yes, definitely. Oh my.
People, and it's kind of cute. I mean, it's kind, because people make honest mistakes. You just like, you kind of like empathize. You're like, if I was there, this would be very embarrassing if I was on the other side of this. So you try to lessen the embarrassment. It happens.
Here's a drink ticket. Go take your mind off of it.
Drown your sorrows. But I think, again, that's part of the hospitality thing and what we were talking about a minute ago. That, being good at your job, you have to be gregarious. You have to be able to talk to people. But talking to people, also the component of that in hospitality that's important and that's a good takeaway is that, there's always that understanding and that trying to minimize embarrassment and trying to create a more level playing field or a level stay, because things go wrong all the time. People make mistakes. People ask stupid questions or what they consider stupid questions, but of course never to make them feel that way. Like, yeah, that was kind of dumb, or whatever it was. Like, oh, why don't you Google this? You can do it yourself, even though like, they could do simple things on their own.
One of the bellmen said it always pissed him off when people came in looking for the candlelight event. He'd be like, I don't know. How about you follow the candlelights?
Because I know there were candlelights leading up the stairs to the candlelight event, which was a music event, and there would be signs everywhere, and people would come to the front desk. So where's the candlelight thing? Well, follow all the hundreds of candles that are going up the staircase, man. But again,
Do I check in here? No. Over there with the concierge.
I know. Yeah. Oh, you mean at the place where everybody else is checking in? Yeah. But again, a lot of that in hospitality is a lot of redundancy when it comes to that. There's a lot of those questions, and we all kind of do it. There are times in our lives where we ask a question like, "Where do I go rent? Where do I check in? Like to rent a car? You mean at the rental car place that you're at right now?
You mean
where do I order? Yeah. Where do I order? Oh, you mean where it says order? I mean, so there are times.
Do I order with you? No, you order with the customer sitting at that table.
Exactly. So there's a lot of that stuff. So I think the people that really do their job well in hospitality are people that can empathize and that are good on their feet, that are not only gregarious and can talk to the guests, but that can kind of spin and pivot and make them feel warm and welcome and make them feel like even though they make a mistake, they make them feel bad for it. Because we can, there's regular ways you can respond in customer service that are completely accurate and completely correct, but they don't have that extra level of customer service and understanding and warmth, that kind of makes them, that kind of eases over their mistakes. And because they're nervous, they're tired, they're coming off a 18-hour flight, whatever it is, so they're not thinking straight. So, I think part of the magic and something that we found that I've noticed with you at least when we were at the desk is, there was always that level of empathy that would help and make people feel better, put them more at ease.
I would say that guests usually 6 times out of 10 would come and apologize for being snappy for sure.
Yeah,
not
I've had
all
that,
of them. Obviously, it's an ego thing. They're not gonna do it. But they'll come down and be like, "Oh hey, wow, I took a nap. I feel better." So
or I smoked some weed or something.
Or some of them will be like, "Sorry about earlier. I was just so frustrated. You were just trying to help me.
Yeah, it's true, and that always feels good. But it's a tightrope.
Me, I'll be like, "Anything else you have to say?"
You want to be rude now? I know. I've had people come down. They're like, "Can I talk to you?" I'm like, "You want to fight some more? You want to go at it? Because I'm prepped. I've had 15 minutes since you've been gone to work up material." But then usually that kind of de-escalates things in and of itself because they know that you're in kind of a jovial mood and you're not just pissed. Which is cool, and I've had good outcomes with that. But it's kind of a crapshoot, But
when they come down and they do this, and they go to the next one, the next agent.
I know, yeah. They're like, "Oh, not doing that again." I lost that round.
That's right. Yeah, you go to the other guy.
You better run.
Yes. With that being said, I'm taking my 10.
Right, exactly. No, there are those situations too where you just kind of can't win and got to kind of take it as a loss and just make sure.
For me, I'm like, I'm not losing. You are. Now you feel awkward walking around my lobby.
Exactly. Now I'm going to get real close to the other agent just to watch as you get checked in. But no, that's good. It's all levels of hospitality and in customer service. But at the end of the day, really tapping into that empathy, I think really sets an agent and a hotel worker apart from peers and contemporaries. If you have that, because not everybody that is in hospitality does have that. But
definitely.
But yeah, that's good. And I think that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ty Justice.
I'm Simba.
And we'll see you at check-in.